The goal of this training module is to help you be more successful at selling HPE Store-Ever tape solutions. It will allow you to understand why tape is re-emerging as the new must-have category for data protection and long-term storage, and enhance your role as a trusted advisor for your customers. Today, your customers have some fundamental questions when it comes to using data to transform their business. Now, you might have seen this message before. HPE believes that this transformation is a journey, and data lies at the very heart of it, wherever it is stored or used, at the edge, in the data center, or in the cloud. It's data that will unleash the new wave of innovation and opportunity. But it's also important to keep in mind that many cloud service providers use tape as a key part of their infrastructure. And tape is now part of HPE GreenLake. That means you can deploy just the amount of tape storage that you need, while only paying for the capacity that you use. So logically, tape is the cloud, not something to regard as a competing alternative. So the key message underpinning this training is that the HPE Store-Ever portfolio remains very relevant to data-first modernization and other strategic considerations. That's because tape still delivers some specific benefits for data protection and long-term archiving. Benefits that other storage platforms can't offer in the same unique way. Firstly, HPE Store-Ever LTO tape is extremely cost-effective for long-term archiving, so budgets go further. Secondly, it's a removable, offline medium which makes it uniquely secure against ransomware threats. Third, it's a scalable storage platform with modular expansion capabilities. That means you can grow at your own pace to handle massive and accelerating amounts of data. And finally, tape is innovating at a very rapid pace to meet the storage challenge of new and to-be-discovered applications. So these are the topics we'll cover in the next few minutes. But first, what is the state of tape right now? You may not realize it, but the world is using more LTO tape than ever before. Demand for tape storage is increasing. In 2022, the tape industry set a new record of 148.3 exabytes of capacity shipped on LTO tape media in a single 12-month period. That's just under 500,000 terabytes per day, almost 5 terabytes every second. And smart money says that demand is only going to increase in the future. But why is that? The simple answer is data growth. It's difficult to visualize, but the big data sets of today are only a fraction of those that will exist in the near future. In the next decade, our digital world will generate colossal amounts of information. Trillions upon trillions of gigabytes in data oceans that need to be kept securely and sustainably. According to the analyst John Monroe from Future Research, the installed base capacity of enterprise storage will increase from 6 zettabytes this year to 36 zettabytes by 2030. It will be driven by the storage needs of artificial intelligence and machine learning applications. And by mobile apps, devices in the Internet of Things, and unstructured data like video surveillance footage. John Monroe estimates conservatively that this surge of data could be as high as 30% compound annual growth between now and the end of the decade. And this data will be generated across all forms of business and commercial activity. Data is the life force of tomorrow's business, an exploding asset increasing in importance and value. Smart cities connect various urban systems using billions of sensors in the Internet of Things. These are generating vast amounts of data to help improve how cities are planned, their transportation networks, use of energy, and more. Autonomous cars are equipped with thousands of sensors that continuously collect data. Analyzing this information in real time allows the car's control system to understand its environment and make decisions. Although this is a good example of how data is generated right at the edge, it needs to be kept for development, regulatory, and compliance purposes. So over time, this vast information resource will migrate and be consolidated in a data center. Many sectors, including healthcare, finance, retail, manufacturing, transportation, and others, are recognizing the value of big data analytics. The use of artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies means the demand for high-quality, diverse, and large-scale datasets can only grow. Of course, how data is used and managed will be different from one industry to the next. But all businesses need to find the right mix of performance, accessibility, and cost-effectiveness. So what does this big-picture presentation mean for tape? Customers will certainly need to take account of the fact that data has different value at different points in its life cycle, depending on its purpose. And this means one form of storage may be more practical or cost-effective depending on the age of the data and what it's being used for. You're probably familiar with the traditional view of data storage as a pyramid of different layers. Hot data requires frequent and instantaneous access. It sits at the top of the pyramid on primary storage and is often referred to as mission critical. An example could be the data used by an online retailer to make real-time decisions about e-commerce orders. Warm data needs to be accessible, but without the extreme performance of primary storage. Good examples of warm data would be backups or snapshots of primary storage systems. These live on so-called secondary storage devices and occupy the middle tier of the pyramid. And finally, cold and even frozen data, which is rarely or never accessed but needs to be kept indefinitely. Speed of access is much less important for this deep archival tier. Almost all of this data will be unstructured. Examples might include video, audio, still images, sensor data, text information, and much more. Logically, the temperature of the tier is what determines the choice of the storage media in terms of cost per gigabyte stored, as well as the performance and speed of recovery you can expect. But no matter where it lives, data has to be stored on something. The challenge is finding the optimal balance between hot, warm, and cold storage technologies. Because what you can't see so easily from the traditional view of the pyramid is the impact of the data growth we discussed a moment ago. In the next decade, this cold archive tier of the pyramid is going to become immense. Now, you could theoretically store all your data, hot, warm, and cold, on high-performance primary storage arrays. But deploying 100% solid-state flash storage is almost nobody's reality. Unless you had an overwhelming business need, you'd incur high and largely unnecessary costs, as well as facing many challenges to keep pace with your data growth. Some vendors and commentators claim that hard disk is the ideal cold data storage medium because it allows you to keep your data relatively accessible at a lower price point. This is possible if we're comparing mechanical hard disks with solid-state storage, but it's not an argument that holds when comparing disk with tape. The challenge is that disk capacities are growing at a much slower rate than they did in the past, just at the point where data growth is accelerating. Remember that 30% compound annual growth figure we discussed earlier for installed storage capacity? By 2030, leading hard drive vendors hope to ship 100 terabyte hard disk drives for storage. But this increase in individual drive capacity is only about half the growth rate of cold data. That's because of some fundamental laws of physics that relate to magnetic media recording technology. We don't have time to dive into all that detail here, but the barrier of the super-paramagnetic limit means to reach 100 terabytes, next-generation hard drives will require a lot of technical innovation. In turn, this means the cost per gigabyte of hard disk technology is unlikely to change significantly. Businesses that only use traditional hard disk storage for cold data will almost certainly need more units, more floor space, and face significant increases in their IT budget. But what about complexity and being able to index, track, and access all of your data across multiple platforms? Wouldn't that rule out tape? The answer to that question is a resounding no. Today's solutions for long-term archival storage can scale to billions of objects, and they can keep track of where information resides, even if that content is stored on tape. So let's repeat the message from earlier in the training. It's not tape or cloud. Tape is the cloud. It's a way of delivering something of value. Tape can help you address your backup and archival storage challenges, regardless of whether you take a traditional on-prem, hybrid, or as-a-service approach. As you can see from the LTO roadmap, vendors have a lot more room to scale current LTO-9 technology to reach larger capacities in the future. While the hard drive industry aims to deliver 100 terabytes of capacity per unit by the early 2030s, LTO-14 is projecting 1,400 terabytes in a single cartridge. This means a mid-range tape library like the HPE StoreEver MSL3040 with 640 slots can hold almost 900 petabytes in a single 42U rack. Based on current roadmaps, tape is the only technology that can offer this kind of extreme storage density for cold data. And keep in mind that future generations of LTO could see faster reductions in cost per terabyte because the technical leap required, while challenging, is not so revolutionary as the one needed to build larger hard disk drives. Before we move on, I want to stress that hard disk drives will have a role to play in managing cold data, because they do offer faster, random access for workloads like the machine learning and AI training we mentioned earlier. But disk cannot be the solution for the majority of that huge cold data tier for the reasons I've just described. So if we can't use all flash or all disk for cold storage, what's the answer? A different storage media will be needed. One with bigger unit capacity, lower unit cost, and lower energy consumption. A technology that is truly optimized for the coming surge of archive data. A complementary technology that can do things other storage platforms can't. HPE StoreEver LTO Tape. HPE StoreEver Tape is very much part of HPE's storage portfolio moving forward. It's something that you can sell and that your customers can purchase with confidence. As we saw earlier, HPE StoreEver LTO Tape technology is innovating to meet these big data management challenges. Indeed, it's part of HPE GreenLake and can be deployed as a service. Another major benefit is that HPE StoreEver offers true offline protection as part of the 3-2-1-1 rule. That means 3 copies of data stored on 2 different media types, with one kept off-site and one kept offline. Compared to a software-based air gap, the barrier created by moving tapes offline offers enhanced protection against ransomware threats. That's because tapes in a vault are physically isolated from threats that can exploit connected systems. They are beyond the reach of human error, unforeseen backdoors, and other examples of criminal ingenuity. And this matters because only 1 in 7 companies that pay the ransom actually recover all their data. And ransomware attacks show no sign of abating, as this timeline from 2022 highlights. The good news is that the cost of a new HPE StoreEver MSL tape library with a petabyte of LTO-9 storage is considerably less than the average ransom demand, which you might not need to pay if you have good copies of data safely stored offline. Talking of cost, tape helps users manage spiraling storage expenses and shrinking IT budgets by offering petabytes and exabytes of reliable, long-term storage for cold data. LTO-9 tape has a measurable return on investment of up to 1,856% when compared to managed service provider cloud storage, and 501% ROI compared to a disk-based JBOD or array. And it's worth remembering that cost factors now include environmental sustainability. The goal of reducing energy consumption and carbon emissions could be more challenging for an always-on disk-based archive tier. A recent study shows that tape-based archiving generates significantly less CO2 emissions than other storage technologies when it comes to the long-term storage of less frequently accessed data. So you might be thinking, what does a typical tape installation look like today? The simple answer is that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. In the real world, there are many different types of applications and workloads, availability requirements, and service-level agreements. Customers use primary storage like HPE Alletra for failover capabilities and instantaneous data recovery. As we saw earlier, this high-performance storage is ideal for hot, mission-critical data. Secondary storage, like HPE Store Once arrays, can be used to host warm data like backup snapshots. And the offsite part of the 3-2-1-1 rule is provided by offloading data from a physical Store Once array, which could be used on premises, to a remote cloud destination like HPE Cloud Bank Storage. This frees up space on your primary storage systems and gives you more flexibility to recover data quickly. And finally, the third tier could be HPE Store Tape, which is the ideal target for long-term, secure, cold data retention behind a true, physical air gap. For additional information, including more detailed and complex cybersecurity architectures, download HPE's white paper on building secure ransomware defenses. There you will see that when it comes to maximum security against cyber threats, tape should definitely be a part of your thinking. I hope it's now clear. HPE Store Tape slots in behind these other platforms at a low-cost, very deep storage tier that offers inexpensive scalability to petabytes or even exabytes. So remember, it's not tape or something else. It's tape and the other great offerings from HPE Storage. For the 4 key reasons summarized here: security, lowest cost, sustainability, and finally, innovation. We're going to wrap the training now. But just to remind you that HPE has lots of sales and marketing material to help you sell HPE Store Tape, from tech specs and solution briefs to entertaining videos and pre-written social media posts. You can find all of this information in our channel sales and marketing toolkit, which is available from the HPE Store and Storage Supplies portal. And here are some other key URLs that are relevant to your tape sales effort. By selling tape, you're maintaining a margin-rich category for your business.
And you always have a valid reason to reach out by means of tape media replenishment to find out more about what your customer needs.
If you want to find out more, follow us on social media and keep up to date with all of our sales tools at hpestorage.com. But that brings us to the end of our training. Thank you for watching, and I hope it was useful.